So Romain Grosjean, everyone's favourite Frenchman, probably, has come out recently against F1 team radios being broadcast in the light of the recent Max Verstappen and Lando Norris incidents. Today I want to talk about it because when I initially heard what Romain had to say, my kind of immediate reaction was, to be honest, in support. Now, Romain himself is very well known for being one of the more flamboyant drivers on the grid. He is actually Swiss. He was born in Switzerland. Look, Romain's voice carries weight. He's co-chairman of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, GDPA, alongside Alex Wurz and Mr. Sebastian Vettel. His voice carries a bit more weight than your typical F1 driver. So what exactly did Romain say? Well, I'm paraphrasing ever so slightly here, but he was asked whether open radio broadcasts make it more difficult for drivers to speak their minds. And in response, he said, first things first, why is it broadcasted in the first place? The cockpit and the radio to your team is your own environment, and I don't like radio messaging being broadcast. Imagine if you were broadcasting what's going on the football pitch. I think it's more fruity and colourful. You can't always speak your mind. You need to respect people. We're not perfect at it, and I'm not. I'm far from being perfect at it, as we know. But also you have to bear in mind that we drive a car at 330 kilometers an hour, pushing it to the limits and knowing that there is risk involved. And speaking of Sebastian, he's spoken out against this in the past as well, after the 2018 Bahrain Grand Prix, where Lewis called Max a dead. One of the Dutch journalists questioned Lewis about this in the post-race press conference. Before Lewis responded, Seb interjected with, can I answer that question? I think it's not fair. I don't know what Lewis did, but we've all been in that situation where we fight someone, sometimes will to will, it's close, and we have a lot of adrenaline going. Do you think, comparing to football, interestingly he uses that analogy as well, if you have a microphone on a footballer's mouth, that everything he says is something nice? I don't think it's justified to give us these kind of questions, don't beat around the bush, Seb, and making up a story out of nothing if we're just racing. If I hit you in your face, you're not going to tell me, oh, Sebastian, that wasn't... No, you're not, to be fair. It's a human reaction. Sometimes I feel it's all a bit blown up and artificial if we have these questions trying to make a story out of nothing. So yeah, they both essentially make exactly the same point, which is that it is unfair to criticise drivers based on the emotional language they use in the heat of the moment when they're driving a racing car at 2 billion miles an hour and wheel to wheel in what is still a very dangerous sport. Now, of course, there's always a flip side, and it hasn't all been negative about team radios. In fact, Toto Wolff, Mercedes' top don, has said himself he'd like them to be kind of fully opened up for the entertainment value. What we should look at is really making those communications available to the fans, that they can really follow the action and see what is going on the intercoms. And if every team would open up, that could be an additional way of enhancing the entertainment factor. It's a sport at the end of the day, Formula One. It's for the viewers, ultimately. So surely entertainment is the most important thing, right? 5 seconds is a yoke, gloves and steering wheel. What are we doing, racing or ping pong? I'm hanging here like a cow. No, Kimmy, no, you will not have the drink. I am stupid. GP2 engine. Mein Gott, Munterstein. It's broken. All the time you have to leave with the space. Magnussen is and will always be stupid. And finally, I just headbutted a bird. Those are some of my favourite, some more recent than others, team radios. You take the team radio away and you lose all these iconic moments. There's no question that it's entertaining. There's no question that it's insightful. It's interesting. It's entertaining. It ticks both the boxes. After every single race, every single session, something's going down, something's going on. But again, when Romain came out with this, my immediate reaction was in support, because I completely agree with what him and Sebastian have said about this. Look, these are all elite athletes competing at the very pinnacle of their discipline to a global audience, representing the thousands of team members who work on the car, driving at unreal speeds, putting ridiculous level of G-forces, so much going on in their head, and the real possibility of serious danger to their lives. Safety has come a long way in motorsport and in Formula One, but there is only so much you can do when a fleshy human being is sat behind the wheel of a car that can do 200 mile an hour and pull 6G around a corner. You're not going to be able to protect everyone forever. Unfortunately, it's very likely that we will lose F1 drivers going forward into the future. The chance of it never happening again is in itself very low. There's only so much we can do. And the drivers, they're putting their lives on the line essentially for our entertainment. In fact, I would argue that when you consider all of these factors, how intricate that you're taking in information, you're driving, you're racing wheel to wheel, I think F1 is the most mentally taxing sport of them all. The level of multitasking and being able to do it consistently and well in different conditions, with different drivers around you, with everything that's going on and the pressure, I can't even begin to imagine it. And when drivers come together, they're going to cuss each other out, man. Of course they are. It's only human. Like Lando called Stroll and then he called him a if you watch my Twitch streams. I throw them out consistently. And that's just playing a game of fucking Fall Guys. I saw a small subset of people online criticising Lando for that and saying, oh, if you can't control your emotions, you shouldn't be in F1, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm sorry, anyone who's got that perspective on this situation is being blind and ignorant to, first of all, the fact that every single one of the drivers does it, and every single driver who has ever driven has sworn at an opponent at some point, right? So that's nonsense. The fact that it's being broadcast, I'm sorry, like you can't rationally expect drivers to be able to turn that off. They're not androids, right? They're human beings at the end of the day, yeah? They have the same emotions like we do. And to expect that of F1 drivers is completely just naive to the reality of the situation that they're putting themselves in and the context of where they're saying these words, because that is the most mentally stressful situation I could possibly imagine. To anyone criticising, I guarantee you wouldn't be able to live up to the standard that you're putting onto them. That's what I think. Now, of course, and again, this might sound like it slightly contradicts, but there are, of course, certain words that, regardless, you can't say. They're not cool to say. Slurs, generally, there is a difference there. A swear is just something you chuck at anyone. A slur is a very targeted, picking out something specific about a person, right? And obviously, Verstappen called Lance a... Now, that's a word that ain't cool to use. I fully appreciate and agree with the fact that Max was called out on saying it. What I will say about that word specifically is that word used to get thrown around so much when I was younger. Because to be honest, it used to get thrown around as an interchangeable word with like idiot, moron, right? You'd call someone that. Now, I'll be honest, when I'm really wound up, would I occasionally say that? Probably. If I was in a situation, would I say that I definitely wouldn't use that word? Probably not. I don't want to be seen to make excuses for Max, but also, do I think he probably used it in the same context that I would in that situation? I believe so. Do I know the guy? No, I don't. Can I confirm that for sure? No, I can't. Was I disappointed he didn't acknowledge and apologise afterwards? Yeah, I think he was. I think it's very short-sighted of him. Like, he needs to realise the platform he has. And if I was in that situation, I can't say 100% certainty I wouldn't have a word like that slip out. But would I apologise after and acknowledge what I've said is a bad thing to say? Absolutely, of course I would. You can't always know intent. People can say one thing but mean a different thing, right? People can play intent however they like. But context, we know the context of what we're talking about today. You're racing an F1 car, an incredibly stressful situation. So I just think we need to give benefit of the doubt. So now to reflect on the original question, should team radios be banned? Again, now I've given it some thought and time. No, I don't think they should. I think they add a huge amount of entertainment, a huge amount of insight, a huge amount of personal connection with the drivers. Because again, most of the time, it's not this negative stuff. It's just really fascinating insight into what actually goes on. And exactly like Toto said, opening it up, I think, will add a lot more content and give us a lot more as a viewer, because we don't really see the athlete. We don't see the driver. They're in this car and they're just surrounded by metal, rightly so, to keep them safe. And we can't even see their face because they've got a helmet on. This is the only insight we really get into their emotions and what's actually going through their heads, right? I'm always straight on the F1 Fun For You YouTube channel after every single race. I'll give a link in the description below. They always post the team radios after the race. Great YouTube channel. With that, I agree that if a driver's chucking out slurs, they should certainly be held accountable for that. But when it comes to venting, swearing, having a pop, just being emotional, let them. Like, remember the context of the situation. Remember just what they're putting themselves through every single race. But anyway, this has been me waffling about it. What do you lot think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Team radios, yes or no? Thank you for watching. I wanted to get this one off my chest because it's really did kind of like stirred up a bit of a fire in me. But if you have enjoyed, like, sub, bell, in that order, I guess. Do whatever order you like. Thank you again for all the support. I really do appreciate it. My name's Tommo. This is the Tommo F1 YouTube channel. Thanks again. Have a good one.